I voted for him, yes. But the quicker that you people welcome ex-MAGAs like myself, the more that MAGA is going to be willing to leave. The fact that you guys throw so much hate at ex-MAGA truly makes us not want to leave the cult. I have seen at least 3 or 4 videos like that in my FYP the last freaking hour, and to me it's ridiculous, because if you want to leave a cult, if you want to leave anything, you're doing it for yourself and nobody else. You don't need somebody to welcome you. Plus, leaving the cult and unlearning the things that made you think it was okay to be in the cult and support the person that you were supporting are 2 totally different things. Yeah, you can leave because you didn't like that AI picture he posted, or because you don't like the way he's acting right now, or you can leave because you know that he's racist, he's a pedophile, he's all these things, and you don't agree with them. But you could have left the cult and still support all those things elsewhere. You have not done the work to unlearn what it is that made you think it was okay for him to be president and to act this way in the first place. So please miss me with the, oh, you gotta welcome ex-MAGA. No, nobody has to do anything. What you have to do, if you truly want to make a change, is change yourself and talk to those around you who also think the way you do, and explain to them why they're also wrong. Maybe they'll listen to you.
Donald Trump's own supporters are now turning on him after he attacked a number of high-profile MAGA commentators online today. And this is all taking place on Truth Social, Donald Trump's own social media platform. For example, this person says, "What? You are way out of line. Most of these people, especially Alex Jones, have been your day ones." Or this person says, "So we can only listen to Mark Levin for news? These people helped you get elected. You are actively alienating your base every day. This is sad." And there's so many more. People saying in all caps, "Lost my support. What in the world is wrong with you?" And you can pause to read these if you like. This person as well saying, "You just lost my support, Mr. President." This one saying, "I can't, I'm done, DJT. You're just a man, and I've done all that I can to support you and stand up for you, but this is enough." And finally, this person says, "They all supported you until you rug pulled the American people." This one saying, "WTF is this rambling?" This one even saying, "Charlie Kirk would be on that list too now, I bet." When Trump's own supporters are turning on him on his own social media platform, that's how you know things are bad. This MAGA civil war that's taking place is getting worse for them.
Hi guys, my name is Mirabel and you're welcome to my channel. So now, MAGA wants empathy after spending years mocking empathy, calling it weakness, calling people too emotional. Suddenly, everybody is supposed to be passionate, respectful and understanding. Okay, because the internet has been going crazy after people started bringing back old clips from conservative figures talking about how empathy is dangerous, fake or manipulative, especially after tragic events started hitting closer to home for some of these people. And now the crowd that used to laugh at people's pain is shocked at the internet, is shocked that the internet is not responding with empathy. Let's watch what people are saying.
For the people that are leaving MAGA, I need you to understand that the reason why you are not being welcomed with open arms is that nothing fundamentally about how you feel has changed. You just no longer feel like the commander-in-chief has you and your best interests at heart. You don't all of a sudden have compassion and empathy for others, for marginalized groups. You're just mad because things are expensive and you believed him when he said he was going to make everything affordable. You could still care less about black and brown people or people who just simply have an accent, being racially profiled, being chased down in their cars, being afraid to leave their homes. You still could care less about human beings. You're just mad because you feel like he lied to you. He betrayed you. And now you're like, I'm one of you. No, you're not. Because our vote was never about the cost of eggs. Yours was. Not to mention your racism, sexism, bigotry, racial superiority, especially if you are a third-time voter. Because the only reason why you're not voting for him again is because you can't. You never cared and you still don't. But you're tired of being ostracized. You're tired of losing friends. You're tired of people not wanting to come around you for the holidays. And now you're tired of it. So now all of a sudden it's like, I want to be one of you now. It doesn't work that way. Because fundamentally, those same bigoted hatred views are still the views that you hold. But now you're asking for compassion from the same people that you showed no compassion for. Instead of looking for sympathy, you should be looking for other people who left MAGA. Those are your people.
The Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act and clearing the way for states to just get rid of majority black districts and Republicans foaming at the mouth and cheering over it is really something. Because weren't they the same exact crowd that was screaming and crying and throwing up about gerrymandering, except when it applies to them? And aren't they the same crowd that also voted almost unanimously, if not completely unanimously, against the blanket national gerrymandering ban that Democrats proposed, despite saying they want it gone? And aren't they the same exact folks that already get a constitutionally guaranteed unfair advantage from the Electoral College and still feel they need to box certain populations of people out in order to win? Which, yeah, is entirely pathetic and totally transparent. But I think it also just goes to show how fucking unbelievably desperate they are to hold on to this power they took. But let me tell you something. They're designing these new districts, these new gerrymandered maps, based on the 2024 election results and turnout and demographics. And what I find particularly fascinating is that we know they've seen the change, the so-called blue wave that's happening all across this country. Urban, suburban, rural, black, white, Latino, Asian, literally everywhere, it doesn't matter. Which leads me to believe that them doing this, thinking that all of these areas are still red and gonna guarantee them extra seats, really showcases how fucking idiotic they truly are. Because these seemingly solid red districts are not so solidly red a year and a half later. And I'm willing to bet that after the midterms, some of them are even gonna flip blue, despite of, or perhaps in spite of, the illegal gerrymandering that Republicans love so much. They're crashing, they're burning, they're faking victimhood like they always do, despite having literal, total, complete control over everything. It's an act. They are perpetual victims of non-existent discrimination. Don't fall for it. And more importantly, don't despair. Get out and vote just as you had planned. Don't fall asleep at the wheel just as everyone else is waking up. That's no fun.
You know how I know the Orange Clown is losing his MAGA cult? Because they did not obey his latest talking point. Now, we all know that MAGA is the most brainless, obedient, bootlicking cult in the entire world. And they get a lot of their energy and their sense of community from their dumb little mantras, their little slogans that the Orange Clown tells them to repeat. And we've all heard the big ones, right? It's like, lock her up, drain the swamp, make America great again. These are just like nonsense phrases. They don't mean anything. And most importantly, they don't ever come true, but it doesn't matter to the cult because they enjoy saying them, because at the core of them, the seed of them, is the idea that somebody else is getting hurt. And the latest one that the Orange Clown and his cabinet of freaks tried to sell to the cult was, remember, short-term pain for long-term gain. Now, the Orange Clown said that over and over again, and all of his little goons went out and said it all over the place, all over Fox News, all over Twitter. And here's the thing, it didn't really work. It didn't really catch on. Now, this was right at the beginning of the tariff insanity. And at the beginning, you know, a few of the cult members tried to be good little soldiers, and they went out and they made videos repeating it, and a few of them would spam it in the comments and, you know, well, blah, blah, blah. But it just kind of faded away. And now, if you don't understand why it didn't catch on, it's because you fundamentally misunderstand MAGA as a cult. And I think a lot of people on the left actually do. Because how many times have I heard, MAGA does not care about being hurt as long as they are hurting others. And this is absolutely untrue. MAGA are the most spoiled, selfish, short-sighted people on the planet. And they do not tolerate discomfort in any way. And even when they cheer on this regime's most vile policies, it's because they think there's something in it for them. For example, when you see them celebrating mass deportations, it's not just because they're gross racists who want to see brown people brutalized. Obviously, yes, that is a factor. They are. But it's also because they think that removing immigrants is going to directly improve their lives. They genuinely believe that there is some fantastical, high-paying job out there with incredible benefits, and the only reason they don't have that job is because an immigrant took it. They believe that they can't afford a house because some immigrant family is living in the house that was meant for them, and once they remove that family, they're gonna swoop right in and be able to afford it. There's some cheese slice lady out there who genuinely believes that there's not enough cheese slices in her fridge for all of her gross kids because some immigrant out there is raising the price of cheese. Shout out to the cheese slice lady. I do honestly think about her all the time, and I wonder how many cheese slices she has in her fridge right now. But back to the slogan, short-term pain for long-term gain. This was a fatal miscalculation by the Orange Clown, and this was a fatal miscalculation by any cult leader. Because every intelligent cult leader knows you keep your cult in line by telling them, hey, you gotta hand over your blind allegiance, your paycheck, your teenage daughters, because the rapture is coming. What you don't ever do is tell them what day the rapture is coming. Hello, the entire thing will fall apart. And the Orange Clown told his cult there is a day of rapture. There is a day when the economy is going to be flowing. There's going to be no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Your kids' medications are going to be 1,000% cheaper. Your lives are going to be better. All your dreams are going to come true. And that day is January 22nd. And that day came. And now the clock is ticking. And he stands there and he tells them, short-term pain for long-term gain? He tells them, buckle up, buttercups. It's time to sacrifice. It's time to be a real patriot. It's time to suffer a little for the greater good of the country. Yeah, freaking right. They might not be in full revolt right now, but their deafening silence at that latest talking point that they were supposed to run with is very telling. Because this is the first time that the Orange Clown has told them, yeah, I'm going to hurt others, but I'm also going to hurt you. And that is not what they signed up for. And before you say, what does it matter if they've lost MAGA? This is authoritarianism. They don't even need their votes anymore. Well, that is not how this regime is acting. They are scrambling to consolidate power. They are scrambling to mess with the midterms. These are not the actions of a regime that has it in the bag. And come Christmas, you think they're not going to remember the words of their dear leader, the Orange Clown, when he told them with a smile on his face, well, maybe your little daughter doesn't need 30 toys for Christmas. Maybe she'd be happy with 2 or 3. I don't think so. Do you?
I was talking to my friend who is an avid Trump supporter, and I'm talking to him because I'm trying to build bridges of reconciliation. I still believe in a future of America that the us can be everybody and a bigger us. And so I'm talking with him, and he brings up a point that, right, both sides are corrupt. They're all corrupt. And this is something that I've been trying to push back against because I don't think that that is true. And I think that if you perpetuate the myth that both sides are corrupt, then that benefits the side that is more corrupt, right? Because if both sides are corrupt, one is still probably more corrupt than the other. And so the idea that both sides have problems and both sides are corrupt, the longer that we allow that to continue, the more it benefits the more corrupt side. And so one of the ways that I counter against this, because I have to do it carefully and I joke, right? I'm like, because he brought up that, right, like we've always been corrupt. And one of my jokes is, we're not more corrupt than Jim Crow, right? Like, as bad as things are, and things are bad, as bad as they are, we are not as bad as Jim Crow laws. And usually, right, people are like, oh yeah, because you can't say that we're as bad as Jim Crow. Like, again, lots of things are still bad, not as bad as Jim Crow. But when we're on the phone, he asked me, what's that? And I was like, he's like, who's Jim Crow? And I was like, Jim Crow laws, right? Like civil rights, like Reconstruction. And he was like, nope, did not know. He did not know what Jim Crow was. And so I spent, a couple minutes, right, explaining to him. He's like, oh. And it kind of just like ends the conversation because he has not digested this information yet. He has not learned this information. And that is the difficulty. That is the difficulty of evangelism. That is the difficulty of outreach, of conversion. And as one of my creator friends on this has pointed out, right, like this election shows us that we are not in a Venn diagram. We are in 2 different circles. And what that means is that if we want 51% majority vote blue, we are going to have to evangelize. We are going to have to be missionaries. We're going to have to educate and explain. And I also understand that there are a lot of people who are tired of doing it. And you got to retire or you got to take a break because you've been doing it for 8 years, 20 years, 50 years. The ones that are new, and this is how religion works, like the new converts, if you are a new convert, if you have recently been converted to the religion of everybody has equal and human rights, then we have to be the ones to go educate. And there's a lot of sentiment that I hear, right, which is go educate yourself. Why haven't you educated yourself? And I understand the feeling and the frustration, but the reality is nobody is going to educate themselves, or very few people are going to. That is just not how human beings work, and that is not how our society has been built. And so there are going to be many of us where we are going to have to learn how to carefully, articulately, compassionately, gently educate, and to be in positions with people where they will trust us to hear those things. That is going to be really hard. Not gonna lie, it's really, really hard. But if we're gonna win, if Team Blue is gonna have any chance of winning in 2028 or 2032, then it's gonna be on the works of that, of people who are willing to go into the communities, build community, and evangelize their community about human rights, about equal protections, about history. That's just the way, that's the game, right? That's the game. And I hope that more people will, on Team Blue, join the game and play.
That woman talking about her father getting kicked out of the nursing home? Well, apparently the nursing homes are kicking out their Medicare patients. And she was like, why would they do that? And everyone in the comments was like, honey, this is what you voted for. This is Medicare cuts. This is the big, beautiful bill. And she was like, no, that's not it. Yes, it is. I work in skilled nursing. 90% of the residents that are in there, they are Medicare patients. These buildings stay open because of Medicare. They will close down. They will not care for your aging parents and grandparents for free.
Nope.
They will send them home to you. You will have to quit your job and stay home and take care of them. That means you're going to have to be the caregiver for your father, your husband, your kids. You're going to have to quit your job. You're going to do all this on half the income for your household. This economy is going to suffer greatly when these places start closing down. This is one of the reasons, this is the main reason why I did not want to rely on the U.S. for my income while I'm living abroad. The economy here is bound to crash. When you cut Medicare like that and these places close, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. The dollar is going to suffer. There is no forethought with these people. They have no idea what is happening. Did you guys?
It's crazy how that person is shocked when they voted for the people who did this to them. So, I mean, again, what do you expect? It's brainless.
So let me make something very clear. The reason a lot of people don't have empathy for the I Left MAGA crowd is because y'all are still trying to rewrite the story. And guess what? We're not buying it. You want people to believe you voted for cheaper groceries, better jobs, tax breaks. No, you didn't vote for policies. You voted for a feeling. And let me say the part people dance around. You weren't tricked. You agreed. You agreed with the tone. You agreed with the direction. You agreed until it started affecting you. And that's the part people don't want to say out loud, because now it's, he lied. We didn't know. We were misled. No, people told you over and over again what this was. Not quietly, not subtly, but out loud and in your face. And every time you dismissed it. Things like, he's not serious, he's just talking, or it won't actually happen. So let me give you another line you might not like. You didn't leave MAGA. MAGA stopped working for you. That's why this feels different now. Not because something new was revealed, but because now it's uncomfortable. Now it's hitting closer to home, and now you're feeling it. And suddenly, you want grace, you want understanding, you want people to separate you from it. But that's not how this works. You don't get to help build something, defend it, excuse it, normalize it, and then step away from it like it had nothing to do with you the second it stops benefiting you. That's not growth. That's convenience. Real growth sounds like, I saw it, I ignored it, but I chose it anyway. Until that level of honesty shows up, people are going to keep looking at you sideways. Because this was never just about one man. It was about what people were willing to stand next to as long as they thought it wouldn't cost them anything. And now that it does, now we're supposed to clap because you're leaving? Not gonna happen. This isn't about punishing people forever, but it is about this. You don't get immediate trust. You don't get automatic redemption. And you definitely don't get to pretend you had nothing to do with it. You weren't fooled. You made a choice. And now you've got to own.
Another thing people keep pointing out is how empathy itself became politicized in the first place. Think about that for a second. Compassion, understanding, basic humanity, somehow turned into a culture war issue. That's crazy. One side says empathy is manipulation. The other side says the lack of empathy is destroying society. And now everybody is weaponizing the word against each other. The internet is basically watching two groups accuse each other of being heartless while both sides continue feeding toxic online behavior. That's why these conversations get millions of views, because people are frustrated. They're tired of double standards. They're tired of selective outrage. And honestly, they're tired of politicians and influencers fueling division while regular people become more hateful toward each other every year. At this point, America's political culture feels less like democracy and more like non-stop internet warfare. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to understand each other. Everybody just wants revenge, viral moments, and clapbacks. And sadly, social media rewards the most extreme reactions every single time. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think empathy has become conditional in politics? Or do you think people are just finally experiencing the same energy they gave to others? Comment down below, because this conversation is definitely not ending anytime soon. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future uploads. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.